For a moment, the Hoysa family was sitting on the ground, tasting a delicious plate of jollof rice. And the next moment, they were found alive in a pond of their own blood. No one in the village of could have imagined that a simple Christmas meal would destroy a whole family. The most tragic thing is that the person who started this tragedy was someone they all knew and who they trusted. Before we continue, we invite you to love and tell us from which country you are watching us. The friendship between Ulla and Adana had begun when they were only 5 years old. Their mother, both sellers at the market, had their vegetables in their stalls side by side. While their mother was working, the two little girls were playing and telling each other stories. "When I grow up, I want to become an educator," said the young Hula. "So I will become an instructor too," answered Adana, imitating everything her friend did. At the age of 12, they had their daily routine. Every morning, they would meet near the well in the village to drink water. Hula over here through Adana, making signs from their usual place. "You brought breakfast?" Taking out her own pack of yam and fries. "Of course. Mama made the kara, here, eat it." She shared everything, food, clothes, and their secrets. After filling their bucket, she sat down at the edge of the bucket. "Yesterday, I saw Abanet looking at you. Takina had a morning there when they were 15. "Stop lying," retorted Adana. "He was looking at you, surely." "You. All the boys are looking at you." "That's not true," protested Hula. "Remember the month-end party last year? Shitty danced with you all night, only because you were sick at home." Their laughter was overflowing, making women smile and nod their heads. They are no longer like sisters but friends. When they were 18, things started to change. Ola enrolled in the literacy courses for adults at the village school. "You should come," suggested Ola to Adana. "The new teacher, Mr. Oysa, makes everything so interesting." "I must help Mama at the market," replied Adana. But in truth, she had noticed the sparkle that illuminated Ula's eyes every time she mentioned the name of Mr. Oysa. Mr. Oysa was different from the other men in the village. He wore clean shirts and passed through the village and spoke English like the people on the radio. He had studied at the University of Lagos and had chosen to come back to inform in their small village. One evening, Adana was waiting in the courtyard of Ula to see her come back from her class. "He accompanied me," said Hula as soon as she saw Adana shining. "Who, Mr. Oysa?" "Yes, he said it was not safe for a young woman to walk alone in the dark." "He also accompanied the other students?" asked Adana, already sure of the answer. "No," said Hula. "Just me." That night, Adana couldn't find sleep. Something was gnawing her stomach, as if she had eaten a bitter fruit. During the next 6 months, Adana watched Ola and Mr. Oysa get closer. They came to visit Ola's family concession in the evening, bringing small gifts. Books for her younger brothers and sisters, palm wine for her father. "He will soon ask for my hand," he had already told me about his family. So quickly, Adana was surprised, trying to keep a neutral tone. "You have known each other only for 6 months. When we know, replied Hula with a dreamy air. "Oh, Adana, I am so happy. Promise me to be my main lady of honor." "Of course," smiled Adana with a forced air. "We are sisters. Do you remember?" But that night, Adana cried in her ear. She felt like she was losing her best friend, her sister, her half. The wedding preparations then invaded the whole village. The women gathered to pile up the inyang and prepare the soup, while the men set up tents and made announcements on the square. The wedding morning, Adana and Ahula got dressed. "Your cloth is not straight," she said, adjusting the magnificent gold and purple fabric. "There, now you are perfect." "I'm scared," murmured Hula. "And if I wasn't a good wife?" "Don't say nonsense," answered Dana dryly before softening his voice. "You succeed in everything you do. You will be the best wife in the world." The party lasted 2 days. Adana stayed by Ula's side, smiling until her cheek and dancing until her foot hurt. But every time she saw Mr. Oysa, fluttering his hand, or kissing him on the cheek, this strange feeling in her belly only grew. Ula and Mr. Oysa moved into a new house, one of the few in the village, to have a roof and a rattan rather than in a shawl. Less than a year later, they had their first child, a girl they called Anana. "Come and hold your niece," said Hula to Adana during the ceremony of Badhem. Adana took the baby, observing her peaceful face. "She looks like you." "Mr. Oysa says she has my nose," laughed Hula. "You will be his queen, won't you?" 2 years later, their son Chitty was born. During this time, Adana was still living in his father's concession, helping his mother at the market. Adana, when are you going to get married? Asked his mother. Look at your friends, they all have children. Leave me alone, Mom, said Adana. Marriage is not indispensable. Yet, she could see the life of the lazy getting better day by day. Mr. Oisa had been promoted school director. They bought a television, then a refrigerator. Their children went to school barefoot, while others stayed barefoot. Every time Adana visited them, there was something new to discover. Look what Mr. Hoysa has offered, he was excited, exhibiting his new jewels and his clothes. It's very pretty, but deep down, her heart was getting darker every day. One evening, about a month before this fateful Christmas, Adana surprised two women who were talking at the market. Have you seen the new Pagula? That night, Adana couldn't close her eyes. She was doing the dirty work in her little room, thinking about all that she had and didn't have. A husband, children, a beautiful house, beautiful clothes, and the respect of a whole village. It's not fair, she said. It's not fair. The next morning, she went to the end of the market where old Mamankuru was selling herbs and medicines. The old woman said, The house of my father is invaded by rats. They eat everything. Mamankuru looked at her face for a long time. Rats, huh? She said. She plunged her hand under her table and took out a small packet wrapped in banana leaves. Be careful, it's very strong. Just a pinch will be enough to kill the biggest of the rats. How much? For you, nothing at all. But remember, be very careful. The morning of Christmas rose in a bright light. Adana woke up early and went back to the kitchen as soon as possible. She prepared the rice jollof with the greatest care, making sure that every grain was perfect. Her hands trembled when she challenged the packet of my mankiru. Just a little, she murmured, sprinkling it in the rice. Just enough. She placed the rice in her most beautiful plastic container and left for Ola. The fresh air of the morning carried the songs of Christmas, emanating from several concessions. Ola opened the door. Surprise. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Adana, she replied. I made this for your family. Anana and Sylv. Kurzers. Auntie, did you bring us some Christmas food? Yes, my dears. Special jollof rice for my favorite children. Come in, insisted Ola. Stay and eat with us. No, I have to help Mama, said Adana, stepping back. Enjoy. Merry Christmas. As they moved away, she heard Sil's enthusiastic voice. Mom, can we eat now? It smells so good. Later, in the evening, their neighbor Atsuyama went to the Oisa family to give them a Christmas present. She found the door open. Where is Mr. Oisa? She called. No answer. She pushed the door, and the scene she discovered the girl screamed. The family was stretched to the ground, their bodies twisted in pain. The neighbor ran outside, screaming, calling for help. Soon the whole village ran and the doctor came. What happened? Is it an intoxication? Who could have done such a thing? Adana arrived, scared along the way through the crowd. When she saw that the bodies were taken, she fell to her knees and began to cry louder than anyone. My sister, Mahula, no. The village doctor examined the bodies, but could not determine the exact cause of their death. Some murmured that evil spirits were involved. For 7 days, Adana lived with her secret. She attended the funeral, crying and screaming until I lost my voice. But on the 8th night, everything changed. She was about to go to bed when she heard children laughing. Auntie Adana, why did you do that? She turned around slowly. Anana and Sa were standing there. No, she whispered. You're not real. Why did you kill us? Asked Anana again. Go away, yelled Adana. We were sisters. The voice of the tear resounded behind her. Sisters in everything except in blood.
Why?
Every night afterwards, they came back to haunt her. The day, she heard their voices in the wind, saw their faces in the shadows. She stopped sleeping, eating. Her mother noticed her state. Adana, what's up? You look sick. I'm fine, Mom. Just a little tired. But she wasn't doing well. The dead man devoured her from the inside, like thorns rolling from the wood. The ghosts left her no respite. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. One day at the market, while the village square was full of people, Adana came out of her house. Her cloth was half dead, her hair in battle, her eyes red with fatigue. I killed them, she yelled. I poisoned the Ryjalov. I killed my sister Hula and her family. The market became silent. I was jealous. She continued tearing her hair. She had everything I wanted. A husband, children, a beautiful house. I killed them. I killed them all. She ran in the village screaming and confessing until the elders caught up with her. They keep trying to stop them from doing harm. In Omu, everything has changed. Christmas celebrations are still taking place, but they are no longer exactly the same. Now everyone is wary of accepting the food offered, even from the family. As for Adana, they are still telling the story of her being in the village, accompanied by the ghosts of those she betrayed. A living reminder that the most deadly poison is not in a dish, but in what is let grow in its own heart. Thank you for watching and see you soon for a new story.